What's up? How's everybody doing? Mike Worth here. This is class number 8, a very exciting one. We're going to be dipping into some new things and really having a good time tonight because we're going to be playing with Photoshop. Something we haven't done yet, which I know a lot of you guys are eager to get into. It's a really nifty tool that graphic designers take full advantage of and totally should. But yeah, we're going to be looking tonight at how to just do a really simple thing. We're just going to bring photos into Photoshop and we're going to play with the layer system. We're going to learn how sometimes you can sort of do these cool sort of digital darkroom techniques where you can blend images together to create brand new images. And we're in the business of that, right, of creating the new. So we're going to be using our sources that we used for our previous exercise, which I took a look at. And I got to say, it looks like you guys had some fun with the funny words, right, with the sort of new cultural slang. So I was very pleased with those. I definitely got a laugh out of that. Thank you. And yeah, so we're building up towards something, right? We always do these little exercises as a way to sort of get towards something larger. So we guys are going to be creating, as we said, a iTunes boom album cover, right, or Google Play or whatever your sort of du jour music service is, Spotify, all those things. But they all sort of follow a standard sort of square chiclet format that really is reminiscent of record albums, vinyl records, and then also CDs, right? Tapes were horizontal, so like they didn't quite have that. So we're going to be creating those, and I think they'll be a lot of fun. So what I want you guys to do is to start to think about what is going to be your band that you're going to choose that you think is like really like the one. So yeah, if you guys could you know, sort of get into that, I think that would be a super cool thing. So anyway, let us please get into the mix because it's going to be a fun evening. Like we said, we're going to be looking at your images that you guys did, your exercises. I think they're fun. You know, I think this opens up conversations about talking about font choice and the things that you've done, that you're sort of really trying to make these simple connections between the image space and the typographic space and having that nice fusion, right, where things lock together. You almost want it to be invisible, right, that like we don't notice that there's this sort of happening, this combination or arrangement of these items. So yeah, so let's take a look. As we said, we're going to be doing some Photoshop, but then we're going to finally sort of wrap up and talk about, we're going to look at some album covers, and I'm going to encourage you guys to do some research, sort of looking around the internet for the greatest album covers of all time, right? Like look at what people think they are, right? Like read a little bit blog articles, you know, graphic design, news sites, magazines, those sorts of things. That's where they talk about this stuff. And, you know, get into their heads a little bit about where, you know, where people are thinking, because, you know, ultimately the album cover, right, it sells the record, right? It may even just, right? And, you know, you might be somebody who's sort of audio driven, right? Where you're like, oh, I got to hear the music in order for it to sort of be, and then yeah, the album cover is secondary. And I guess, you know, the technology that age that we live in, where we have iTunes and we have these things where like music is just so much at our disposal and at our fingertips. You know, does the sort of album cover still serve its purpose as it once did, you know, in a record store, right? If you've ever been to a record store, awesome. You've got a little bit of that of the past experience built in, which will make you a better person in life. But yeah, record stores, you know, you were sort of sitting against your competition and at least people in your genre and then the same letter as you. So, you know, if you were Metallica and Manowar, two metal bands, so like, you know, they would be sort of fighting for space. Obviously, very different bands, very hard to compare those two. But yeah, you know, you were up against these other things, and I think that became an important part of the record buying experience. Whereas now, like we said, it's not so critical. It's not so the thing that makes it stand out. But it's still important, right? We want all that. I can remember a time on my iPod when I didn't have album cover art for everything, and like iTunes didn't automatically populate it with that whatever was the closest image for that song, right, based on like my music. So anyway, yeah, albums, music are really cool things, but the thing that we want you to start to think about and have for next week, we're going to post, I'll show you guys on my courses, is I want you to have an idea about what kind of record a sort of chiclet, right, that you want to make that will show up in cover flow. You know, what is your band, right? What is your song from that band? You sort of need to make this choice, because as far as textual information, the name of the band and then the name of the song will be two pieces of information, text, that have to be on your image, okay, that have to be on the piece that you make. The other thing too, is that you may not at all, because we are approaching this from a fan's perspective, okay? And it's important that we state that. This is the challenge, right? Is that you must create a brand new, original look and feel for that band, right? That doesn't use existing typography. Like, so if the band has a typeface, can't do it, right? It's not something that we want. And then the other thing is pictures of the band or anything that is sort of used, like images and things that you would have to license, okay? You want to, we're putting the kibosh on that, okay? Why? Well, because, like, frankly, this wouldn't be such an exciting design challenge if I just said, hey, go out and find the same stuff that we see all the time and just slap it together in something that's semi-new, okay? Sorry to say it like that. But it's true. It's really true. I want you guys to be creative, to sort of expand, test your love for the band that you're using, right? Like, really say, like, if I'm like a real fan, what am I going to do that's going to just be like 11, right, for this kind of thing? Okay, so yeah, that's going to be something we dig into. So let's turn it over to my courses, right, and do what we always do and check out your work. Here we go. All right. Awesome. So I hope you guys had a great week. I definitely did. The holiday was awesome. You know, it was a little sad to read about that guy in, I forget where he was, South Carolina, I think, who, or maybe Tennessee, I think it was, who put the fireworks on his head. Yeah, that didn't really work out. So I'm glad that none of that happened to you guys, and that you possess the ability to rise above temptations like that, because it's real funny in the moment. I can partially understand that, but yes, incredibly dangerous. Cool. So yeah, here we go. So we're going to see post your second round of type and image combinations. So I hope you guys liked Fancy Crave. I know the image is sort of, I don't know, hipster maybe, or like out there at times, weird, artsy. Cool. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Delia, you got your power plug. You went on vacation and did not have her power plug, so saved the day. Fabulous. Cool. All right, so let's see. So we've got awesome sauce. Very nice, right? Good use of the bottom grid part here. It looks like you didn't, it's missing the line, but I can safely say that from my eyeballing that that's pretty close. Okay, cool. So this was a, looks like a rule of thirds grid laid on top, right? So here's the deal, right? So here's now where the challenge lies, is that you have an image that may or may not be on the same grid as what you're trying to use, right? So this image is not clear, is clearly not on the rule of thirds grid, right? Because this part would be up here, right? The horizon line would choose one of the things and lock in, right? That would sort of be the sound logic with using the rule of thirds grid. It might be on more of a golden ratio grid, perhaps. So here's the deal, right? You want to sort of merge like what you guys did in the previous exercise, which is finding the sort of natural flow in the image and then connecting it, right? So, you know, I think the grid makes this sit in a nice way, but I wonder, you know, is there other opportunities here, Delia, like with the horizon line that perhaps could be cool? All right, what I got to say, I love that you have this very sort of subtle infusion of awesome sauce against the sort of highlighted ocean. I think that was a really smart move. I like the font. It's kind of a brushy, scripty feel to it. I wonder, you know, do you want to play with a little more color and like grab one of these sort of night sky dusk colors, right, which are really beautiful? Could that play a nice role here in what you got going on? Could be wrong, right? There's so much brightness there. So, but anyway, very cool. Ooh, nice. That's a very creepy. Yes, that is redonkulous. Good. Okay. So, right. The other thing is, like, does the word then connect to the image? You were sort of given the freedom to do that, right? As we said. So many factors, right? I guess there's three that we can identify right now, which was, we said, was what is sort of the natural lines and things that like where type would fit well just naturally based on what the image is doing, how it's behaving. Also, how can the grid, right, sort of lock those two together, right? We said one of the things was try and see if the grids are on par, if they're the same kind of grid. And then the other thing is, you know, with the image, right, with the subject matter, is there's just some ironic way that like you can sort of do something that would be fun, right? So like I like this. It's really sort of simple and clean. A fun thing would be is like maybe you could sort of do type on a path and like bend the type to sort of run down this little flight of stairs. That could be interesting, right? It could just be also horrible looking. But you know, just trying to think creative, spitballing ideas about what could potentially happen. Cool. Ratchet. Awesome. I still struggle with the actual meaning of this, but from what I understand, it's the 21st century version of ghetto, right? Where it's something that's just like, but I don't know. Maybe it includes like country. I don't know. Maybe there's a sort of expanded definition. I'm not totally sure, but it's fun, right, to sort of explore it with graphic design. So I see you got the blur filter going on here on the type. That's interesting as well. You know, understand that like blur, what it does is it sort of simulates the lens. So if you're shooting with a camera, right, there's certain how do I describe? There's certain sort of like effects that lenses do that are pretty common. I think you could probably even look up like different focal lengths, for example, and that would show up really nicely. So do that, right? Do a quick Google search and look up focal lengths on photos and just sort of see how you can use the blur filter that way, right? Because you could blur something up really close and that would be fine because it would be that the focal length was different. But I guess I'm wondering here, without lens effects, you know, what it is that you're hoping to do with the blur effect. But I like where you place this. I think this is a really interesting sort of fitting in. My attention still goes further, so like I like that. That means that this has dimensional qualities to it. Your type's in a good perspectival place. You can build a perspective grid on this too, by the way. You know, if you just sort of imagine my mouse here tracing a line going back in space, and if it followed this rule of thirds grid, right, it would sort of end in the center here. And that's also how you can sort of create a three-dimensional grid space and a two-dimensional space, which I think in this case can be talked about because of the nature of the photo, going back in space on the street. It's pretty cool. So awesome. All right. Cray cray. Yep. That's certainly cray cray. Nice fitting there. I appreciate that. Very cool. And I like your type choice as well. That has a good casual feel. Awesome. All right, Bay. All right, so these are your Bay here. It looks like, boom, Wacom or drawing tablet of some sort, your Mac keyboard, and then this. Awesome. Very cool. I feel the same way. Awesome. Nice. Let's see. All right, Anna is up next. Yeah, that certainly is cray cray, right? I like that connection to the image, and you've got your C and your R sort of hooking on to that ruler piece here. Cool, right in a good location for contrast as well. Nice, Anna. Ooh, yeah, that's fun. Ratchet. Wow, with like the supercars. Awesome. Oh, nice. I like your typeface as well. It's kind of classic. When you bend it like that, it gives it a real sort of vintage, sort of retro, eclectic feel. I like that a lot. All right, sort of that late 50s, 60s kind of almost movie title typeface. They would do these things, bend the type this way in some science fiction and B movies and things like that. Even, you know, action movies. It was sort of the thing. Cool. Very nice. That's just a funny photo as is, and has a lot of great space there for type. Let's zoom out here a little bit so we can see it in full glory. Awesome, very nice. Love it. Oh man, wish I had a dog like that. Cool. Oh, your Bay, nice, good. Big pint of beer, fabulous. Very nice. Good, interesting placement. This is kind of off the grid a little bit, but I like that. You sort of ran up the side here. That's fun. Yeah, this is when you know, this would look like a really great classic ad if you were, let's see if I can zoom out a little bit more. There we go. Nice classic ad from back in the day. All right, simple type, boom. Yeah, good. You got a nice little lockup here. You'll notice too that like when you have simplicity going on here, if you look at like the sort of the most attractive things in the image, you can sort of draw like a triangle here, and that creates a nice balance, right, of live objects versus, say, the background. So that's a nice thing you got going on there. Yeah, boom, right? We can sort of create, right? If you like squint, if you do the squint test and sort of almost look at the highlighted spots or like the most interesting spots in your composition, then you can like almost draw these connecting lines, and you can almost create a constellation-like image that sits on top. That's sort of another type of grid system as well, which gets a little more advanced composition techniques down, but you know, you guys will encounter that pretty quickly. It's not like rocket science. It's pretty cool. Awesome. All right, we got a dude out here in the Arctic. Yep, that's pretty ridiculous. You know, looking at this, and it's like with the grid, I think you have the opportunity here, like with the camera lens, the way that's going on, you know, sitting on this horizon. There's like a lot of places in here that like sort of have trajectory. So yeah, there's like the grid you put on it, and then there's the sort of continuation, the action lines that are created by the photo itself, right? So like where his camera lens is like a line of trajectory, right? It's like, you know, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, oh, that camera's going to go pew, you know. His eyesight, the top of his head, you know, there's sort of lots of little alignment areas in here. So perhaps, you know, what you've done here with his head and this is like a nice little lockup, you know, boom, 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 right? I'm even liking some of the snow and stuff down here. Cool. Yeah, right. It's like, look, if my eye's dancing and it's doing good things, that's a success. That's pretty cool. Okay, Abigail, giving us PDFs. Boom. I would love some JPEGs, my friend. If you could, please, that'd be great. But I'm going to do this here. I'm going to open this in a new tab. Let's see if we can check this. Oh, please don't make me download only. Come on. Let's see if I just clicked it. What would happen? Oh, Abigail. All right, we'll make it happen. No problem. So let's see. I got to click Queens. I got to do this. Sorry. This is me trying to be organized. Summer 2015. All right. Ridiculous. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh, it works that way. I'm not sure why. Yeah, cool. Oh, wow. All right. We're seeing that same image, it looks like, pop up. Nice. All right. So you did the sort of shell upper. Yes. All right. Any other word? I think this would be sort of an overdone type effect. But I think in the case of Redonkulous, you got a clear pass on that one. So that's pretty cool. Very nice. Let's see. Ratchet, which you capitalized. Let's see. Here it comes. All right. And let's check out Ratchet. All right. Nice. Looks like you're using a Chicago font, I believe it is. Looks like an old school Macintosh font. Nice. Okay. Are these bricks stretched or squashed a little bit? They appear a little bit like that. Right. Again, we said that like photographs of things, like patterns that we sort of understand and stuff, if you do them too much, they look squashed. And that effect is something that is apparent to people. So just be careful with that. I'm not quite sure. This could be the natural state of the bricks, but just be you know, on the lookout for type and image. But cool. I like this sort of the black here against the rough photo. Yeah, I think that works for sure. All right. Next, we've got Cray Cray. All right. Let's see what we got. Nice. Cool. Very nice. Yeah, this is simple. I love you've got the type is so bold, it creates this sort of left-right alignment, and then all the trees pointing down. It makes this image quite interesting. Cool. Nice. I like your type choice as well. All right, let's see. Bay coming up. Oh gosh, what is this? All right. Are these tomatoes of some sort, I wonder? Whatever, all these plants, I wonder. Cool, okay. Well, I like you've got all this sort of greenery and shrubbery. It's a very, very sort of detailed image. My eyes going everywhere. So I think you chose a good spot. We're a little close to dead center though. You're not quite there, but I would say if you could, try to avoid being in that dead center region. But you're just above, so I think you're fine. And then it looks like you've got this bulge effect on the type. And it's interesting. I wonder, as an experiment, I think it's good to try these things, but what exactly are you hoping to do, right? So like what should I interpret that bulge effect to mean? Because I noticed that the type has changed shape. So like, you have to sort of just make sure that makes sense. But as an experiment, cool. I think it's fine. Nice. All right, and then we've got awesome sauce. Oh, nice. Cool. Looks like you've got the marker felt tip font there. I recognize that. Nice. All right, and you got a little the warping effect. All right, so you love the warp effect. It looks like you're getting into it. Again, a warning just about squashed images, right? Because I can see very clearly that this image should be wider, and it's appearing squashed. So I'd just be careful with that, right? Because it could make your whole ad appear to be just like something went wrong, like the printer messed you up or something. So if you're intending to do that, then there's ways to do that so it feels more intentional. Yeah, trying to at least make one connection between stuff. But I love that this sort of looks like an eyeball and like a smirk. I'm sort of getting the pareidolia effect, right? You guys remember that face on Mars? I think that's happening here. Very cool. Thank you very much, Abigail. And get us some JPEGs next time, please. Sorry, I ran through those a little bit quicker, but we had to deal with those downloading of PDFs. Gosh, no, it's all good. Yeah, get us next time. All right, we've got Theo up next. Yes, indeed, my friend. Fancy Crave had some really different kinds of images. Yeah, they're kind of doing some funky things, which is a lot of fun. All right, Redonkulous in marquee type. I see you're trying to sort of get the mimic of the vertical thing going on there. I dig that. I think that's a pretty cool experiment. One thing you got to watch out for is when you do marquee type, I did mention you should do it all capital. They stack well together. Capital letters tend to have more of a boxiness to them, which makes them feel more stable when they're stacked up versus lowercase letters, which don't. So you're getting weird spacing between just because of the height of the letter. And it's just an unfortunate thing that occurs. So I'd just be careful with that when you have that going on. Cool, that's a funky image for sure. All right. Nope, looks like you've gone all David Carson on us and you've done this in Greek. Well done, my friend. We'll have to play process of elimination, I suppose, to figure out which one is which. Let's see, is it Ratchet? Perhaps. Yeah, these might be. Yeah, I think it is. Very nice. Okay, I've figured it out. Awesome. I think so, maybe. Cool. Well, I like this a lot, by the way. This sort of has like a record album feel to it already, which is quite interesting. I like that the type is sort of on a baseline, and then this is sort of on like an off-axis. I think that's a lot of fun, right? You're sort of shifting grids. You're having two grids superimposed, and they're sort of locking together, at least in some good way, which is nice. So cool. Next, we got Cray Cray, certainly, right? Stencil type with the coffee. This is cool. I'll say though, like because there's something written right in the image, there's already typography in the image. It's going to compete with what you have going on typographically. Even that typeface appears a little bit bigger than your letters. So as far as like hierarchy, what's going to hold the page, the word coffee is kind of doing that right now. So you want to just be careful that you don't, have those sort of battle too hard. So cool. Bay, nice, good, very good balance, right? You found a photo that already had, looks like a rule of thirds, right? Because they're equidistant. Boom, nice. I like that balance, counterbalance. It's a really simple composition. Yeah, the one thing is, I know you guys have left your grids on, is like take the grids away and just see, does the image sort of still lock tight the way you want it to? We can imagine here, but you guys have the power on your stuff to make it happen. Nice, awesome sauce, cool. All right, so you broke it up into 2 words. That's fine. Cool, nice, Theo. All right. Yes, awesome. Sorry, I'm seeing I suppose that's I'm not sure if it's a donkey officially, but I see redonkulous. Very nice, good stuff. Funny. Cool. Right. Wow, that's like kind of dark Ratchet. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, that is cray cray. Wow. That takes it to another level, doesn't it? Right? It's like cray cray's like, oh, cray cray. But this is like, yeah, that guy's gonna like bash your face in. That's so Friday the 13th. I love it. Nice. Bay with a little bit of the Greek. Nice with the alpha and epsilon, beta. Cool. See here, you can see like this is a little bit bigger than the word coffee, so that's fun. Nice. Nice. Oh, that's fun. Awesome sauce. Wow, I like that. That's a really good use of the working with the colors and sort, but combining them in one word. Fun. Wow, this already feels like a record. Right on. Wow, that's a real win there. Fantastic. Cool, Kelly Dow. We got cray cray. Uh-oh, Kelly. Stretch type. Come on. We got to make sure that we avoid that stuff because we can totally tell that it looks that way. It just, yeah, like there are like so many bad sort of newspaper ads and magazine ads and stuff, and like penny saver magazines, those sort of like local dime store rags that do this, and it's awful. Let's just try and avoid it, right? Type is a really beautiful thing. Let's keep the sanctity. This is cray cray, right? Though I like your image choice. This I think is that sort of Saudi Arabian like a hotel, right? That looks like a sailboat. Yeah, wow, that's amazing. I think it's in like Dubai, or maybe it's in Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure. Awesome, very cool. All right, awesome sauce. Oh, nice. You did a little bit of tracking play on the sauce. That's fun. We got some squashed stretchness going on here, though. We got to watch that. All right. All right, cool. Bay, right, nice and simple. Oh, I like to sort of play with color. That's nice. Okay, we got to watch those stretch type. Aha. All right. Now I know that you got it out for me. I appreciate it. Cool. Yes, that's Ratchet in Papyrus. Good. That's a good one. I like this one a lot. Yeah, I think it's actually a good use of Ratchet. Yeah, or of Papyrus. Yeah, cool. Redonkulous. Nice. Okay. Cool. Very nice. Let's go to Paola. Nice. Let's see how many more we got left. All right, a few more. Nice. We got to these are just exercises, so we're going to get through them pretty quick. Yeah, wow, Ratchet, that's kind of dark. This is like Ratchet for Scream. Yikes. Nice. Wow, I love the typeface. Oh, I'm forgetting the name of it. It's that psychedelic typeface. Oh, man, I forget the name. But good use of that. Very cool with the van. Interesting. Cool. I like how you're playing with this is a good use of the warp effect, I think, here, trying to use that shell lower, it looks like, more arch lower to match the curvature. Good. Oh, nice. Awesome sauce. Cool. This looks like a nice Mediterranean, perhaps in Crete, perhaps, or maybe Portugal. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's beautiful. Very seaside, very Mediterranean with the white stucco. That's beautiful. Cool. Redonkulous. Oh, interesting. Yeah, lots of technology going on. But what a funky typeface you chose. It looks like you, yeah, that looks like oh gosh, I forget the circus. Yeah, or rosewood, cottonwood, something like that. I think it is. Oh, I can't remember now. But yes, that's a very sort of not like this is a very modern image, right? Clean, technological, very 21st century. And then this is not, right? This is sort of old and right from like the Bonham and Bailey times. So it's an interesting juxtaposition. Cool. All right, let's see. Alejandro has some. We've got Redonkulous. Very good. I think so. Ooh, Ratchet. Dark. This is just funny. Cray cray. I love it. I like your good color use here. That's good. I think that sort of salmon peach works really well up in the sky. Very good. Oh, the moon. Bay. Love it. We're going to see Pluto in a couple weeks, guys. I'm sure you're probably heard of that. That's pretty exciting. We're going to have new images from the New Horizons spacecraft that was launched like however many years ago, 10 years ago or something. Oh, this is great. Oh, wow, you got great pareidolia effect in here. I bet if you took away the grid, you would have like a little nose and like, or maybe this is like a single eyeball of a really like sort of cute grass monster, perhaps. Oh, This is well done. Good job. Fun. Okay, let's see, Jamie. Interesting. All right, I love your color. I think your warp effect though is fighting slightly with the horizon line. I wonder if there's ways you can do that. Still use the warp effect, but I wonder if it's maybe if you brought the center line down a little bit and it sort of yin-yanged that little flag effect like across the top and bottom. That'd be a nice way to create a little bit of harmony there. But good color. Ooh, wow. Bay and security camera. That's an interesting statement. Wow, cool. Great alignment though. I think you got that one pretty solid. Yeah, you can play with this one as well. I mean, it's fun, but good. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, look at all these Ethernet cables. That's very ridiculous. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, ratchet, interesting. Wow, you've done this in almost in like an onomatopoeia way where it's like, you know, like Batman, like boom, pow, biff. That's fun. Cool. I think that definitely plays with the word. I know some of you guys, I guess I can't find the definitive answer if it's spelled like the tool, the ratchet, or if it's not. Perhaps if it's slang, it's its own spelling. Who knows? But cool. I noticed some of you guys sort of went back and forth. Interesting. Wow, you kind of fit that right in there. Interesting. Okay. I think you'd need to take away your grid because that, right, you want to have a little bit of room, a little bit of breathing room around your type as well, right? Type should have a nice balance. We talked about contrast, right? So it should have a good amount of space surrounding it, right? So as you guys are working on these, thank you, by the way, for all these guys. These are a lot of fun. Keep looking back at the older videos and see where I'm talking about like type placement and reread that article because like it talks about some basic rules you just want to have. And just like before you start working, just scan it, right? Just pull it open, look through it, get the big, you know, bold words in your brain, write them down if you need to, and just sort of approach, you know, what it is that you got going on with your ideas in that way, right? Say, okay, well, I know I got to have this balanced here, and oh, I need contrast, better contrast here. You know, just sort of try to just keep familiarizing yourself with these rules. But very cool, guys. I think you guys did a great job on these. Lots of fun. You know, another thing that you can do is just quickly do a Google search. I did here, just graphic design, grid layout, and just look at what people are putting up, you know, as far as ideas are concerned. Like, you know, I love it. I love something like this because it sort of takes a page and then shows you how you can sort of lay out like a newsletter, for example. So like this could very well be a newsletter. You can put your title here, a column with like articles, you know, an image, copy, a little smaller stories at the beginning of a second story, that sort of thing. You know, you got grids like this, you know, where you can see like how to lay out just blocks of stuff, right? So just imagine these squares, replace them with information, right, with type. So here, take a look at something like this. Here are some grid layouts for magazine articles. So like this could very well be a 5-page, 6-page story in a magazine. And this is, you know, often how they would lay it out, right? You can see that they're, you know, sort of blocking off for copy, and you can see that with just rectangles. And then they've got the big black boxes, which are sort of reminiscent of photos. And then they have these larger headers, right? So there's like type hierarchy going on in here. But like this is guys, this is how you start to practice with ideas, like to start to think about, well, you know, if I'm given a lot of information, you know, how would I handle this? Now, we dig into projects like this with large amounts of information in gosh, there's a brand new code, NMD, I think it's NMD 201. It's typography. I think I have the course code wrong, I apologize, but our digital typography course has a whole unit where we do type layout, traditional editorial type layout. You learn it from scratch, and then you take it to the next level, right? You start to do it with InDesign. You start with Illustrator, you work in InDesign, you do multi-page flow. You know, you learn to create stuff like this. And because you're going to be handed sometimes just a ton of information, you know, how do you sort of deal with it? So anyway, just to sort of round out our grid discussion, you know, I want you guys to just keep dialoguing with the grid, keep looking around for information about the grid, because, you know, you can keep pushing it, right? You can sort of keep doing great things. This is a wonderful book that I even have here. This is a Making and Breaking the Grid. It's by Rockport Publishing. It has like some fabulous stuff inside of it. It shows you excellent examples of grid types in all sorts of locations and things like that. So, you know, yeah. right? Keep it going, keep exploring, and when you're faced with projects and assignments, you know, go to your resources, right? That's the thing that we're developing as well as skills is, you know, where are my resources at? How am I going to, you know, try and make what I'm doing start with a great foundation that's sound and then push it to the next level? You know, that's really how you want to approach this. So anyway, give yourself the opportunity to sort of just jump on there and check that stuff out. So, all right. So we're going to switch over now and start to look at using Photoshop, and we're going to just do some really simple stuff, right? As we said, we just want to sort of introduce ourselves to Photoshop. It's different than Illustrator. Some of us may have experience with it, and that's awesome. Like, for example, there's so many uses for Photoshop. I do use it for illustration because it takes advantage of the Wacom tablet, right? So I have my Wacom tablet here, which, yeah, my trick now is I put a piece of paper on top, and it gives me the real sort of feel because I'm slippery with the pen. And yeah, I use this in Photoshop, this Wacom pen, and you can get one of these. If you take digital illustration, it's actually a requirement for the supply list. So well, I realized I'm like picking my nose with it in the camera. So it is a really great tool, and like I have this older one. This is the tablet, the way it works, and you can use this directly in Photoshop just for drawing, right? It's like you can get in there and just you can sketch. There's a pencil tool, there's a marker tool, there's a paint bucket, you know, everything that you need. You know, that's one way of using this. But what we're going to do is we're going to sort of step back and use Photoshop for what its name in pens, right, is for photos. And we're going to do some really simple stuff with photos, and that's just going to be simply just doing a double exposure effect or sort of superimposing two photographs together. So, all right, we'll begin that process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over quickly back to the internet, and I'm going to go back to our wonderful resource that we've been using for our images here. Let's see. Okay, so let's get a new tab going. Fancy Crave. So I hope you guys liked Fancy Crave, right? It's one of many. So, you know, you want to just keep that resource again as a go-to, but like, you know, how do you want to expand on it? Okay, we're just going to do this. All right, we're going to take this image and this image, this clock, right? This really cool sort of watch, and then this nighttime scene, and I don't know, we'll superimpose the images, and maybe they'll tell a story about running at night, perhaps. So, okay, so I'm going to Control click, and I'm, you know, using Google Chrome. So, you know, that's how that works for me really well. And then I'm going to here. Let me switch over. I'm going to do this here. I'm going to just show my whole screen so you guys can see because I got to switch back and forth between Photoshop. Whoa. Okay. Oh yeah. By the way, folks, I'm going to be at Charlotte Comic-Con, August. When is it? August 9th, I think it is. Yeah. I'm going to be drawing and painting there. So yeah, you guys should come down. So all right, here's the deal. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go File, New, and right now we're going to work with a simple resolution. And we're going to go with, let's go 800 by 600. That'll keep the images really small, and our resolution is 72. That's fine. And our color is RGB, right? Because we're keeping this for screen. If we were going to go to print, we want to switch this open and go to the CMYK output. Okay, it's a really important thing with Photoshop is that when you get started with Photoshop, you have to set up your image specifications. Illustrator, right, the file's already high res. Like right now, for example, we're going to switch this to RGB real quick. Right now, the resolution is 72. So two numbers that should stick out to you guys when it comes to this that you should know forever, okay, is that 72 DPI, right, or PPI, pixels per inch, is a resolution measurement, okay, and that's the resolution of screens. So right now, I'm looking at my screen. It is 72 dots per inch or pixels per inch, okay? And you know, if you make graphics for phones, if you make graphics for the web, they're all going to be 72 DPI. Like when you save JPEGs out of Illustrator and Photoshop, they are 72, okay? Because that's native screen resolution, all right? And that's good. That's what looks good on our computer screens. Now, in order to print a high quality image off of a computer, we need to, let's see, 7, 14, 21, 28. We need to do 4.2 times that amount of pixels per inch. And we need to go to the number 300. So I'm just gonna type it here. We don't need it for this project, but I just want you to see that like those are two numbers that should always stand out for you in the game of design, right, in resolution settings. And we're most concerned with it when using Photoshop, because Photoshop requires that we set this stuff up first. It really has to do with the fact that Illustrator is a vector environment, which doesn't require resolution to create images, but Photoshop is a bitmap or raster environment, so it requires resolution to be there. Okay, so all right, so we want to be 72, right, today, 800 by 600 pixels, cool, RGB color, right, I'm loving it. We're gonna say okay. And now when we paste these images in, I'm gonna do Command V, right, or edit paste, right, and it will say that it has a different RGB space. It's totally cool, sRGB, that's a fine working color space, okay? And then let's see, its size. Oh, it's just a little bit bigger than my image currently. Here, let me make Photoshop here full screen and hide this guy. Oh, yeah. Come on, Mike. My first time, I swear. Okay, so you can see here, let me zoom in a bit better. Right, I'm at 200%. And you can see that like surrounding my, the box, I'm using the black arrow, right? Just sort of a quick tool that you should use first is this black arrow. It's the move tool or the V key. And that lets you grab any sort of photo and move it around, which is really nice, right? So, but everything in Photoshop, you have to make sure that we have a connection to understanding is layer-based, okay? So I brought in this, by pasting this image, this layer, and you can see I can turn it on, off, and there is in fact a background layer, right, that I can click, all right? Now, the first thing you want to ever know about the background layer is that like you generally don't always need it. So, but it's locked, it's always locked. So what I want to do is show you how to unlock it. Double click on it, right? I selected it. It's got a highlighted blue on it. I'm going to double click and then it will say new layer, layer 0. You can say okay. And that transforms the background layer from being this sort of background of white, like white paper, to being now just a shape, right, or on a layer. So what this means is I can reorganize my layers, see the white sitting on top of that. I can put it back, or in the case here, I just want to delete it. So I can even drag this to the trash down here, and it goes away. Or I just did Command Z to undo, right, which we're very familiar with. Or I can just select it and then click the trash, and it goes away. Of course, yes, I want to get rid of it. So the first thing that we did really here was we opened up a new image. We set it to 800 by 600. We set the resolution to 72, and then we had our color space RGB, and then we just pasted in a photo that we got from the internet. And then we saw that we could move it around by using the move tool, which is at the top of the tool palette right here, right? And then we also played a little bit in the layers palette where we just double clicked on the background layer, which converted it, because it's locked always, the background layer, we converted it into a regular layer and just deleted it. So, right, our objective right now is to start to play with images. The move tool is going to be really good for us to sort of play around in the space, right? What I like about the 800 by 600 size is that our images are going to be too big, right? So if you notice, let me zoom out here real quick. Here are some bounding boxes, right, that are sort of signifying that there are transform controls, okay? Now, some of you guys may not have this, and it's actually a feature that you want to turn on at the top right here. I don't know if you can see it says show transform controls right here where my mouse is. You may have that unchecked, right? And you can, you can get to transform controls in another way by going to edit and then transform. Or if you're interested in the Illustrator-like experience or any other software, frankly, that has bounding boxes, you can just click show transform controls, which I love. Because then, I can hold the shift key. Very important to hold the shift key, y'all. And you can scale, right? Now, the thing you got to know about scaling in Photoshop is that once you do scale, you have to commit to it. But that, you're playing with bitmaps here. So if you go down real small and then real big, the image loses quality. So you want to avoid scaling too small and then back up. Right? Go back to your original photograph that you had like a JPEG of, or that you downloaded from the internet. Keep the source materials close by. That's a sort of rule of thumb. All right, so Photoshop's different in a few ways. We're sort of explaining that as we go through it, how it really differs from our experience in Illustrator so far. And being sensitive to the size of images is something that we want to make sure we keep really in our forefront of our mind. So, all right. So our objective here, right, is we want to get another photo and stack up this layer palette and then start to play with these guys, these little color modes, which I'm going to start to show you guys how they work. So we're just going to play with blending of images today, and I think you guys are going to just love what you can pull off here. Okay. All right, so let's go back to Chrome, and I'm going to now go back here, and oh, I don't need to go so far back in Fancy Crave. And I'm going to scroll down, right? We said we wanted this watch image. Haha, there's some of the images, right, I'm seeing there from your projects. Okay, so here's a Braun watch, which I'm going to now just copy the image and paste it in, okay, into Photoshop. So I'll just make sure I click over there, and then I'll Command V or Edit Paste. It gives me that same pop-up about the current RGB space, okay, and yes, it's good. All right. So now I have that photograph of that watch sitting on top of the photograph of the street. Okay, and I'm gonna now talk to you guys about the blending modes as a way to really do some cool stuff with Photoshop. Right, you can really see the power of Photoshop happen right now. All right, so just real quick again, right? Like the layers are here. They always are named something like generic. So if you want to rename them just for the sake of organization, double click on the word layer 1 or layer 2 and just type in like what stuff is. I just like to do that. And then this is like the street, okay? And just again to show you that you can drag these guys and restack them, as you'd like. It's really cool. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna grab the watch layer, and we're just gonna do a very, like, the most basic blend that there is, okay? And it starts up here with this opacity. I don't know if you guys can see that it says opacity 100%, okay? So now, this is like the first kind of blend that I wanna show you. It's not the one that I want you to use all the time. In fact, this is one of the things that I want you to do sort of when none of the other blends work, okay? But I'm gonna show it to you first because it's the easiest to do. So you just click on it and you drag this slider, and you'll notice that the image will start to blend, right? It'll start to fade out, and that like elements of the background image will start to come forward, okay? Now, that's great, right? It's actually works in a nice way. But what happens in these kinds of fades is that, right, because it was black in the background of this watch image, it's just put a black mute all over everything. And I lose some of the brilliance in the under photo. So this is why opacity isn't the best way to go, but I wanted you to just see that it is in fact possible, and it should be the first thing you know how to do, okay, with layers as far as blending. So, all right, so I showed you, but let's take it back to 100, okay, because here's now where it gets really interesting. I'm gonna click on the watch again, and then I'm gonna go to this little drop-down menu that has the word normal in it, okay? Now, if you're like me, you're not normal, okay, right? So, if I pop that down, I get this really awesome list of things that are called blending or ink modes, okay? They used to be called ink modes back in the day, but now they're called blending modes. And what they do is they run these sort of image algorithms. That's a fancy way of saying these sort of image effects that lets you take two images and then you can get all of the brights in one or all of the darks in one, and they'll blend based on those values or the midtones or just the color or just it's really cool. Okay, so here, check this out. So what I do is I like to go through the list because a lot of these don't always work, right? You need certain kinds of images that are light and dark or all light in order for them to work. So every combination of images is different. It's unique. It's exciting, okay? So, right, dissolve doesn't do much of anything really. Or we can check out darken, all right? That's not too exciting. Multiply, yeah, it's getting better. Color burn, okay, so like if you, ooh, here we go. Now we're getting the goodies, okay? So if you look, these choices are all sort of in these groups, all right? So dissolve has this sort of like gritty feel. I think you need to create a special dissolve mask for it to work. Anyhow, right now we're looking at all of the sort of working towards darker sides of images. It starts with darken, obviously. So these all go towards the darker hues and blacks in an image and make them sort of work well together. So, right, let's see what linear burn does, all right, and darker color. All right, so not so exciting, but watch now when I use the lighten part, because that watch image, all right, it didn't work as well, because that watch image has so many bright parts to it, it almost, oh, here we go. All right, see, now this is the jam, right? Like that is a beautiful way of sort of combining these two images, because it'll ignore certain parts of the watch image, like the black, so you can keep the brilliance of the under image, right? Meaning the sort of full saturation of color on the bottom image, and then also pick up the highlights of the top image. Okay, so here, let's see what else we can do. Ooh, color dodge is a little more rich. Here's linear dodge, a little muted, lighter color. Yeah, not so good, but kind of cool and sharp around these items. All right, now that's that bunch. You saw that worked out pretty well, better than darken. Okay, but then let's go to overlay. All right, let's see. Ooh, nice. Look at what overlay does. It really sort of like richens the image. That's beautiful. Cool. Soft light, a little less. Hard light. Oh, okay, that's interesting. That sort of reminds me of a darken style effect. All right, vivid light's nice. Linear light's also cool. Pin light. Okay, that one's got some negative effects going on in there. All right, that's cool. Hard mix, it's a little bit too sort of pixelated color. All right, well, difference is interesting. Kind of 90s. Nice. All right. Ooh, wow, that's cool. That one sort of made everything negative. All right, that looks like a murder scene. Hue, oh, that's interesting. That works with like parts of the color. Again, okay, color and then luminosity. These are really faint, but interesting in some ways. So, all right, so it looks like overlay and like some of these early ones, and then the light and stuff works the best. Okay, so watch this now. All right, let's put this back to normal. And here's what I meant was that like we can get a lot of effects out of a lot of combinations of things in Photoshop. So watch this. I'm going to go onto the street layer, and I'm going to now put it on top of the watch layer. And we're going to do the filter effects again, and they're actually going to be slightly different. So check this out. So let's go check our sort of normal ones, right? So here's darken, right? So now it's picking up parts of the under image, right? It was sort of the reverse of what we had going on previously, right? So some of these effects are kind of interesting. Yeah, cool. All right, so here's lighten, right? That's looking fairly similar to what we had previously. Ooh, color dodge is nice. Cool, let's see what overlay looks like. Ooh, nice, right? So overlay was a different look before, but now it's much more concentrated because the watch is sitting underneath that its colors are coming through. So this is just phenomenal stuff that it like sort of never ends as far as how combinations of things can go. So let's do this. Let's get one more image. All right, watch this. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to look for, this stuff works really well. I'm going to look for NASA space photos. Right, again, trying to keep within like free images, right? Like things that, like, you know, your tax money pays for these images. So NASA, you know, has some goodies for you. All right. So let's see if we can find some cool space imagery here. Like, let's go to galleries, image galleries, and see what they have. Okay, so let's see NASA on Flickr, Cassini, Earth missions. Let's see what Orion spacecraft looks like. No thanks. All right. Oh, these aren't good. All right, let's just do NASA stars. Okay. What I'm really interested is in star photography, because stars like look so dope over images, especially with these clouds and stuff. Like ridiculous. Okay, cool. We're gonna get this JPL nebula image right here of a hatching star, right? Oh, look how beautiful that is, right? That's real, folks. I know it's like a sort of made-up image. It doesn't really look like that in real life. This is like sort of infrared photography mixed with true color photography, with ultraviolet, with gamma ray photography, like everything to make what it is that we see here. But it's really beautiful. Okay, so we're going to paste this guy in and say okay. All right, and now we have a big image, so we're going to need to scale this down a little bit, or let's maybe not go too crazy. I like that little bit of cloud right there. Okay, and let's start running some filters. Right, let's see what darken does. Not good. All right, light. Ooh, look at this. Loving it. Oh my gosh. And then now this is where you can play with the move tool, right? We can start to like sort of play around with how images lay out, because they're a little bit bigger than what you have going on, right? It might be that there's some interesting effects that go on. Yeah, I shrunk that down to fit, so that one's not working so well. But yeah, wow, it's like I sort of shift these things around and like some really groovy things occur. And yeah, right, it's all because we put 3 photos together and we started playing with the blending modes, right? So if you notice, the blending mode will live update as you sort of click on each one of these, right? So the bottom one has normal because there's nothing below it. The middle one, the street, has overlay, and then the space NASA stuff has lighten on it. Okay, so I'm getting a little too overclouded here, so I might want to just sort of bring this back and yeah, just maybe get some of the stars. Oh, that's so nice, right? It's like you really can sort of transform and create these crazy brand new images that are just, you know, phenomenal. So this technique, guys, is, well, right now it's a triple exposure, but before we were doing a double exposure. And one other thing here with layers, right, is you take a look here and like there's these eyeballs. You can turn stuff on and off, okay? And here's now where like opacity like can play a good role. I think this cloud is sort of overtaking the images a little bit, so I might lower its opacity slightly, just so that like some of the bottom image comes in. But now we have a little bit, you know, a balance between that, the very exciting star image, the watch image, and then the background with the street, right, which was sort of our original image there. So again, just a really sort of simple set of techniques that you have going on here that really creates some beautiful collages and those sorts of things. So again, it's just a lot of fun, okay? But here, this is our second lesson, okay? I want to talk right now a little bit about taking control of images, okay? And we're going to stay in our layers palette. I wasn't actually planning to do this, but I got the spirit right now, guys. We're going to go for it, okay? I want to talk to you guys about masking, okay? So what masking does, guys, is masking is sort of the way that you can cut pieces of photos out and then use them in other locations, but preserve the original image, okay? There's an eraser tool in Photoshop, right? I could come in here and erase part of it right now, but that is something called destructive editing, okay? And destructive editing, guys, is not good. It is destructive. So what we want to do is start to play with a masking tool, okay? Because like that is going to be what allows our images to be preserved, all right? So here's what I want to sort of use as a demonstration, right? I've turned off the background layer, all right? This clock, right? Let me turn this off here real quick. So you can see with this clock that I have here, there's like other parts of the image that I'm not so keen on keeping in my project. So, you know, I want to, you know, take some parts out, but I want to, you know, if I'm going down the road and I edit some stuff out, if I want to like fix it a little bit and keep the sort of the paint wet, as so to speak, Photoshop allows me to do that by using masks, okay? So here we go. All right, we're going to get serious with masks right now. So what I want to do is I want to actually turn a mask mode on, and then I'm going to paint away the background, okay? And that's going to be real easy to do. We're going to introduce the brush tool, and we're going to paint black and white, and that's going to just make parts of the image disappear, all right? So let's get mask mode on right now. So the way mask mode works is it's right here. It's at the very bottom of the layers palette, and you can see it says add layer mask. So I've chosen the watch, and then I roll over this little guy right here. It's next to FX. It's just to the right of FX, okay? So if I click on that, it'll add a layer mask. And if you notice, in the layers palette, it popped out this sort of little extra, like little window right here. And what this is going to do is this is going to hold paint information that will hide and reveal this image for us live. All right, and what it does is it simulates the eraser tool without actually doing it. It's a non-destructive editing technique. So this is really the ish, guys. You really want to make sure that you have this going on, because this is going to be the difference between like you pulling your hair out and because a client needs a change on a photo and you got to go back to the source. It's just too many extra steps. So this is really great. So I've set the mask up, right, by clicking on the layer, right? Notice I can toggle back and forth in the layer palette between each of these, okay? So if I'm in mask mode, I only can do the mask effects. But if I'm in the photo, I can change parts of the photo. Like if I wanted to paint a big red line across the front of this, I'd need to be clicking on the image itself inside the layers palette in order for that to work. You can also see at the very top, you can see here where it says watch, right, because that's the name of the layer, comma, RGB. And then watch, when I click it, it says watch, comma, layer mask, which is referring to the layer mask part. And I go back and forth, and that's sort of telling me that like I'm in that different mode. That's how you can tell. And you'll notice the colors also change, because mask mode can only use black and white. That's it, because of the way it works, right? It either masks or reveals through black or white pixels. Cool, so let's try it, right? So I'm now clicked back on the layer mask. I can tell it's on, right? Because it has these little outlines on it too in the corners. And then I'm gonna go over to the brush tool, or hit the B key. And now with the brush tool, I'll make my brush bigger. Obviously 1 pixel is way too small. So I can do that by coming up here, or I can click the right bracket key, which is just above your enter and return key, underneath delete. Okay, and that will make my brush bigger and smaller, right? The bracket key, you'll see it's curly bracket or hard bracket. And then watch this. I can just start painting black. And what happens is I can make the background take on this checkerboard look. And the checkerboard look is sort of what Photoshop means by being transparent. So whenever you see gray checkerboard in an Adobe product, that means transparent, okay? So like when logos and stuff don't have a background, like you've probably downloaded images before from the internet that like didn't have backgrounds. And that's because, and others often have white backgrounds or black backgrounds, and that's because you were using a file format that had a transparent backdrop, right? Which is something called an alpha channel, which is very cool. It's a great technology. What it's happening in is a file format called PNG that has native transparency, PNG 24. That has native transparency there. So I'm doing sort of a bad job here of like painting away the edge. Okay, there's some really fine ways to do this, but I just want to get rid of some of these really the edges of the photo and have the highlights come through. I don't need to be so precise, but you can zoom in, right? I'm doing Command or Control plus. And you can see as I zoom in Photoshop, I will see pixels, right? And if I want to get a much cleaner edge, I can do that. Right, this is where like the tablet comes in handy. You can get really smooth edges. I'm doing this just with my mouse. I'm not actually using my tablet. So I'm doing the best that I can. Also, you can adjust these like flow options and things. So like it feels like an airbrush. So like opacity will be very light, or flow will be that like it comes out really soft and then cakes up, kind of like how spray paint does. Also, if you click down the brush size menu palette, there's a hardness. So right now it has 100% hardness. I can lower this to like 20 or so, and then what this will do is it'll give me like a soft edge. You see that there? It's a little bit too soft, so yeah, that kind of put me in a bad spot. So here's the deal. With Photoshop, you're limited with how many undos you can do. So right now, if I go bam, back 1, all right, I fixed it because I did it all in one spray. But if I were to do this, like spray, spray, up, oh, right, it fixes that 1, but these 2 are still messed up. So what I can do that's brilliant with the masking tool is I can change the color. So right now, black is the primary color, right? You have a background color and a foreground color. This is different than Illustrator, which was stroke and fill. So foreground color is what I'm painting with right now. So if I toggle it by clicking this double-headed arrow, what I'm effectively doing is the brush tool goes from being an eraser tool to a reappearer tool, if that makes sense. So watch. So if I come in here, I can paint back in parts of the image that I got rid of before, right? And it's most notable here, right? You can see there it is. That just might look like black. So what I can do is forever toggle the colors back and forth and then just paint away the images. So if I mess up and I'm like, whoop, uh-oh, right? I can keep painting if I want to and then bring it back by using the black and white tool. So give this a try. In fact, I would say like stop the video right now and give this a shot, right? Pop open Photoshop if you're not following along, and turn on the layer mask like we did, and go into layer mask mode and start painting, right? Start hiding and revealing parts of the image. That way you can see here it showed that I made this big old mask, and that's what is happening. That mask there, what's wonderful is that it's hiding part of the image. It hasn't destroyed it, it just hid it, okay? So, all right, I'm gonna do this again. I'll do a second one with a second thing just to be a little more creative, but I want you guys to see now how that image is floating like an object. You can just, same way, you can just move it around like it was before. Oh, I got some weird edges around the sides, so I might need to get in there and keep painting, right? I just sort of realized that. Okay, let's go here. Yep, paint it all away. Good to go. Now, the paintbrush is one way to do this. There are other ways to do this. You can do this with the paint bucket tool and something called selections. Right, I'm sort of going back and forth in between here. If you hold the space bar down, it's a really handy way to move the artboard around. And let's see. Get the brush back and then. So it's a little bit of a different animal, Photoshop. It behaves differently than some of the other tools with the way it just works. It's just, it's a historical tool. Like it's just been around forever. So let's see, what is the move tool? It's V. Okay, so V. All right, and I'm just getting these edges. I don't want these edges to show up. The reason I'm doing this, why I'm taking advantage of the mask, is that like I want to be able to use my image like it's an object. What I'm going to do next, actually, because we're on the sort of like science geek sort of bent right now, right? I'm creating original imagery, right, using pre-existing images that I've found from royalty-free sites, and then this is how I'm going to sort of work with sort of trying to interpret what the band music is, right? What they're sort of going for, because like another graphic designer came up with that, and that's cool. But like we're approaching it from a whole new thing, right? Imagine you are given the freedom to do this, right? The place where you see this most evident is in the creation of gig posters, right? Show posters. I'll show you guys a really great website in a minute. There we go. That's beautiful. Okay, so now this is going to sort of appear as like an object. Notice that black part isn't around anymore. Yeah, and we're ready to rock here. We can sort of just keep playing with what we got going on. I just toned that down a little bit. All right, we'll go back to the internet here and do a quick search. I'm going to look for Jupiter. Okay, NASA. Cool. And let me find a really nice picture of Jupiter. Right, because we know that's where boys go to get more stupider. So that's just a little tidbit there. And we're going to find this nice image here. All right, let's get this. There it is. Perfect. Okay, copy. All right. And then we will paste it now. We'll put it above the stars. Okay, same warning for the RGB. All right, we'll shrink it down. Okay. All right, you always have to, after you shrink something, you have to hit return to like commit to shrinking, because it then recreates the pixels. Right, here again, we're showing the mask tool. We'll click on the mask tool right here. Boom, get it set up. All right, and then yeah, we can paint away. Again, there are other ways to do this, but I want you guys to practice painting. Okay, this is the way. Ooh, I want that to happen. This is the way, guys. That what's going on? Oh, something happened. All right. So I've fouled myself here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to not the undo palette, because I've overdid my undos. Is I'm going to go to Window History palette. Okay, the History palette sort of takes you back. You can go back steps. So if you notice, it's been recording all the history. It's like browser history, but it's all your Photoshop moves. So I can go back like all the way to here. Right? It's been recording for a little while. You can set how many of these you want it to do. You can even do things called setting snapshots. So if I love it at this moment, I can sort of save moments in the process and show it off. Yep, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I just needed to go back and fix what I had going on here. Yep, there it is, add the layer mask. Cool. All right, and I can get rid of that history palette now. So for what I mean here is that like you don't get a million undos like you do in Illustrator. You're limited, so you have to take advantage of going back in time with the history palette, which was a great invention. It's been around for a few versions of Photoshop. So yeah, thank you to Adobe and for understanding that we mess up. Cool. All right, so I'm getting rid of the edges on this, and the soft edge is going to work well for what I have. Right, I was up in the brushes palette, and then there's right hardness. I lowered it not quite 0 to 19%. So there's a little bit of a stronger edge. You know, it's not just so sharp, because too soft can be too soft. all that stuff and everything. So cool. All right, so there's my my Saturn, and now you can see it's a nice free floating object. I love it, and yeah, I want to make it a part of like what it is that I got going on. Cool. Okay. Now it is like an object. I did sort of cut it out in the space. I haven't used the blending mode on it yet. Let's see. Like maybe lighten is like really good. Oh wow. Damn, that's just awesome. All right, cool, we're done. So yeah, right, so you can see that I've stacked 4 photos together, I've masked 2 of them, and I've just used blending modes to create these really phenomenal image, okay? And yeah, this is what I want you guys to do, okay? So I want you guys to create, and I'll list this up on my courses, I want you guys to create 3 unique compositions, okay, that take 4 photos and mash them together. Okay, so here, we'll head over, we'll make that homework present right now. Let's see. All right, back over here. All right, so we'll make this, this occur right now. We'll put it up. All right, and in a few minutes, while I'm doing this here, in a few minutes, we're gonna take a look at some really cool record album covers, right? We wanna just sort of get that on our radar. And also, let's get on our radar the fact that we have a project coming up, right? We want to start to think about creating a CD single, right, of your favorite band and your favorite song, right? We've got to have those 2 pieces of information on there. All right, so here's the assignment. All right, project 2 is coming up. And then, yep, you'll have to choose for next week. Here it is. Well, we're not going to produce the 5 sketches. I just want you to choose just a band and a song. Just please do that. That's really easy. Okay. And then you're going to create 3 Photoshop compositions at 800 px by 600 px, 72 dpi. So we'll say resolution. Okay, so make sure you have those pieces of information plugged in when you create your image, you create your new file in Photoshop, okay, that use at least 4 images. Okay, so like get a background image, get a midground image, get some objects, just play with the blending modes, okay? Right, this exercise is intended to get you to play with layers, blend modes, and layer masks. Okay, so that's the assignment, guys. And then yeah, we'll have you guys post that. I'll highlight this in red so you guys can remember. Oh, I really dislike how this text editor works. All right, we'll skip that right now. I'm not sure where the color setting is. Sorry. So, oh, I see it now. Now I see it now that I've clicked away. Okay, so anyway, yeah, right. Check that in your calendar. Make sure that you have that as part of what you're doing for homework. We'll post the bit right here. We'll make a forum. Okay. Let's see. Where's your forum? Yeah. I'm sure you guys love watching me work my courses. I know I'm so good at it. So sorry. All right. So I'm gonna say post your Photoshop, what are we calling these? Compositions here. Layer compositions, okay. We're gonna say JPEGs. Okay, so make sure we get JPEGs, all right? So I know, Abigail, you're a friend of the PDF. I appreciate it. But yes, let's please make sure that we got that going on. Okay, so post those. You got 10 megabytes per attachment. That should be fine, right? We've got a grade going on here. Yep. Boom. Okay. Oh, no. There we go. Good. All right, so just make sure that's there. Speaking of which, I have been posting grades for those folks who have had their stuff up on the Noun project. Pretty good so far. Obviously, like if there's been lateness and things like that, I've been trying to be forgiving, but I do have to take points off because it's our requirement. But for those guys who got in on time and did solid work, you're great. Even late folks, I mean, lateness is right. Just learn to not be late, but your work was definitely on a high quality. So just keep checking back for grades as that goes. Okay. Right. Obviously, this next project will be graded as well. So that's going to be fun. I think you guys are going to really enjoy that. So just make sure, please, that you guys are doing this. Okay. That you're checking this out. Right. We're like we said, we're sort of. Let me change this here. So we're working with Photoshop. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's our next subunit of Unit 2, working with images, right? Type in images. So, yep, Project 2, right? We said design a CD single cover for your favorite band and your favorite song by your favorite band, right? So this project will test our ability to combine type and image and manipulate both elements to create a complete design, right? We're looking for high quality, harmonious, balanced, beautiful, interpretive, witty, and exciting work, right? That has to do with our favorite band and our favorite song by our favorite band. Let's do them justice, right? We love them so much, so let's make sure that we you know, are giving them their due, okay? Let's see here. All right, and then also, here, let me do this. I'm gonna make a quick forum, a real simple one. Please post your the band name that you're gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna say post the band name and song name here. Okay, and the real reason I love doing this project is I learn about new music, because like I am aging and I've lost the ability to know what is good music. All right, so post those things. That'll be for next week, right? So you've got your Photoshop layer compositions. We're doing 3 of those, right? Make them fun, get crazy with color. I think you're just gonna sort of surprise yourself with how cool things can be with color. That's gonna be a really fun thing. All right, so let's just switch it up here before we get concluded for tonight's class. I think this was a really good one, right? Brand new stuff, really exciting. Is we're going to look at, this is a website, Shortlist. I went through this and I tried to find like the top album covers, like really from sort of like a graphic design perspective. And I just started looking through and I just sort of appreciated these. So I thought we'd look through just to get a sense of sort of like how things go. What are some traditions? What are some things that people have done where they've broken rules, types of images, you know, all that great stuff. So yeah, so I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So first up, we have the Beatles, right, with Abbey Road, right? A great record, right, just outside their studio. This is sort of an iconic thing. I don't even think it says Abbey Road in it, right? So yeah, this is when you're just the best band in the world and you can put out a record like this and it's just amazing. So next we've got Van Halen's 1984 with the smoking cherub, right? For some reason, a few bands in the 80s had smoking like religious figures for some reason, like Black Sabbath did it. So anyway, yeah, quite interesting. So this is a sort of, you can see they have like a very sort of official type and then like old style of writing out the date, right, in Roman numerals. So, and then this looks like artwork, right? Someone painted this. It's not a photograph. Yeah. Oh, this is Sigaros, right? I cannot say the name of the album, but like we've got this sort of alien baby, right? This is definitely sort of a Photoshop created image, I'm sure, of some sort, because it's got the real soft paint look to it and everything, and that's quite interesting, right? All right, Johnny Cash. All right, we got, what is this? American 4, The Man Comes Around. Right, look at just the simple Cash, right, sitting at the top of the just bold type, right, spanning from the left to the right, and then the subtle photograph. Right, you lay a grid on this, you're going to have beautiful, right? Johnny's face is right here, Cash, boom, it's just all lining up nicely. So that's a great example of simplicity. This is Otekra. Yes, I'm not sure about these guys, but this is a funky sort of computer-generated 3D image, which is a lot of fun, right? Definitely interesting to look at. It's twisted and wild. I'm not familiar, though. Next, we got AC/DC's Back in Black, right? I don't know how, like, there's that joke in that movie, This is Spinal Tap, where they're like, they get it, their album cover design is all black, and they're like, how can we make it more black? Right, and it's like AC/DC clearly does that, which is quite interesting. So yeah, Back in Black, classic, right? I mean, you don't have to say too much. Here we've got Meatloaf, right? Bat Out of Hell, and it has the sort of like super real fantasy album cover design with like really great use of color, right? I love the sort of blue flame against the sort of night sky, right, with the red sky. It's just a really gorgeous album cover design. Notice our Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, how that's sort of arranged, right? You guys won't have the luxury of being able to eliminate the band's name and information from the album cover. You'll have to do that. So yes. So I mean, you look here, and here's Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, right? And you can see the sort of type treatment, how they use two typefaces, right? Meatloaf has this sort of like tough approach. That's his logo font, and then the Bat Out of Hell was the sort of album cover typeface that was chosen. So definitely a goodie, right? Here's Bjork, right? We love Bjork. She's had some pretty funky album covers over the time. But this is Alexander McQueen did this sort of real interesting, hyper realistic Photoshop sort of digital looking image, right? Which sort of puts Bjork on this next level, which she's definitely there, right? Get a little classic here, seeing a duotone image. A duotone is like a photo that's made up of just sort of like, instead of gray, it's like the values of color. So here we see John Coltrane, right? The Blue Note, Blue Train. Really great, beautiful, sort of simple layout. The type has sort of got a funkiness to it. Right, John Coltrane should be capitalized. Is not. I mean, this is probably from the 50s, I believe. So yeah, Reed Miles is the designer. You can see it's listed there. That's what I love about this website, is that it was about the graphic designers as well. Right, you can see the green and the blue are adjacent colors. So that's working kind of nicely. It's really keeping it mellow and blue. Haha, here's a good one. This is a classic. I mean, this is the Sex Pistols, right? Never mind the bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. I believe this was their first record. Their only record, actually, aside from all their live 45s and things that were distributed throughout time. But here you can see this has got the real punk rock aesthetic really just nailed down. It doesn't really take time to be like careful. I mean, there's bad spacing, there's bad alignment. It's got this sort of mishmash of type at the bottom here, but that's what the Sex Pistols were all about. And the colors too are like, they're vibrating, a little bit of a closeness to chromostereopsis going on here. So yeah, crazy. Good one, right? Definitely a good one. All type driven. No image in that one. But the type almost becomes image, right, with the way the Sex Pistols is sort of cut out. Next, we got Number of the Beast, Iron Maiden, right? Derek Riggs is this sort of classic metal illustrator who drew Eddie through most of the times that he was on an album cover. I think pretty much all the time. But yeah, this is one of Iron Maiden's sort of seminal records. Yeah, pretty demonic, pretty metal. If you know anything about Maiden, they're really not satanic. They just sort of, this was the look of the time. So as you can see here, right, Iron Maiden has the custom typeface, and Number of the Beast is in spray paint, and you got all these characters, and it's a pretty interesting album. Cool. Born in the USA, right? We got Bruce Springsteen, the classic tush, right, with the cap, right, sort of really being just American. Now, what's great about this album cover is this is sort of an interesting typeface treatment, or they did this a little while. Notice the slash is what separates this. There's some weird contrast going on. It's hard to read, but it's a very iconic image. But you can see it was the photographer was Annie Leibovitz, right? Annie Leibovitz is a legendary photographer, American photographer. You just look up her stuff, and she's photographed rock royalty for years. So to have her do this was pretty awesome. So yeah, right. This is a pretty, right, they say quintessential American artist, right? Bruce Springsteen, like hardest working man from ever. Right. Here's the Strokes, right? This is it, with a very sort of suggestive image, right? It's like just enough covered to be safe and free from censorship. But notice the naked bum, right, with the sort of tough glove. So like that is sort of saying quite a bit there. And then the shadows are really what sort of creating the depth and dimension in here. And then very simple typeface, sort of off to the side. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting and in-your-face album cover. I think for the Strokes, it was definitely what, gosh, it's so hard to tell now if you can tell if these really drive record sales, but they used to. That's sort of why album covers were really the jam. Queen too, right, which sort of has this almost a horror gothic look to it, right? The band is shot with this downlit appearance, which makes them look very sort of dark and noir. You can't see their eyes. Photographer's Mick Rock, who's a very famous rock photographer. Yeah, and he did a lot of stuff. So for, again, rock royalty. But it's a good one with Queen. I don't know if I love their typeface. Queen went through a few typefaces, and I'm not dying for this one. I don't know. I think they could have done something cooler, maybe centered the typeface with the photograph. I don't know if I love that one so much, but definitely simplistic. This, guys, I hope if you've ever seen this on a t-shirt, okay, this is Joy Division, all right? This is Unknown Pleasures, right? This is, I forget what this thing is, but this is like a picture, yeah, right, a series of waves, yeah, boom. The Cambridge Encyclopedia of Astronomy, right? It's a pulsar. That's what it represents. Is like, this is like a technical image, a computer-generated image, which is just awesome. So the band, right, being sort of the 80s modernists that they were, brought this stuff in. And I've seen this on a million t-shirts. It's like, and I ask people like, cool, you like Joy Division? And they're like, who's that? And it's like, oh, man. So Target is not helping us out by selling these images, but very simple, subtle, white on black. I mean, but it's just all the energy is in here. All the beauty and magic is in here. We don't even have the word Joy Division on here. At least I can't see. So, all right. Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, right? Pink Floyd's probably gonna have a couple of record album covers here, but like this is quite interesting, right? Where you see these people who are on fire. It's yep, pretty awesome on a Hollywood set. Awesome, cool. Right, The Who, who's next? They've all peed on this thing, right? So they're all tough guys. Amazing. Well, I guess it was the attitude of the rocker back then. Pretty cool. This one I love. This is Soulwax. Soulwax does mashups. They're pretty awesome. But if you can see there, you got to sort of squint, and you'll see it's in the sort of vibrating lines. This is chromostereopsis at its finest, being used to highlight typography. So this is a very cool effect approach to what this is. Here's a Blondie, right, with parallel lines. This was one of their greatest records. You can see here it's like, you know, her and the guys and all the strong background. Just bold, exciting, right? This is a little risky with the type, being able to sort of have it over white and black, but it works. Right, this is Miles Davis's Tutu with the famous photograph, you know, close-up of him. Miles was just legendary by this time, so yeah, he didn't need to have his name on his album cover, but previous records look very much like the John Coltrane, like from the early years. Another Beatles, right? Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Here, everything is happening inside of the photograph. All of this is happening inside of the photo. It's not at all done with type. So yeah, that's brilliant, right? The way that this happened. So Sir Peter Blake is the designer. And it's yeah, it's just a wonderful, fun, whimsical image. Everything, there's so many iconic things in this album cover design that, yeah, it's really an amazing job. Well done. Here's a Straight Outta Compton by NWA. I bought this record when I was young, and then my parents took it away from me. Yeah, because it's got every curse word. It's got the M word on it. It's just, yeah, it was pretty raw. But it was the first of its kind. You know, it was sort of these early gangster rap records coming out of the West Coast. You know, it introduced me to like funk, being cool and hip hop, that sort of thing. But yeah, a really powerful image, right? The whole group looking down, and then the typeface, right? I mean, it's really raw, really rough. You know, had to use that parental advisory, explicit lyrics bit there. Oasis, definitely, maybe, right? This is so 90s. It's awful, right? Yeah, just 90s. So 90s. Amazing. All right, Rammstein, right? Showing a baby in the womb. Well, that's quite interesting. Very, very tough. Strong, like their typeface is really bold, so it can show up really small. So it's quite an interesting image. Here, probably one of the most iconic album covers of all time. Storm Thurgenson of Hypnosis was the name of the design firm that did a bunch of records back in the day. Dark Side of the Moon, right? Just simple. Oh my gosh, this is a technical illustration. This is on par with the Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division, right? It's just a technical illustration, an image that you would see in a science textbook that now is sitting here in this space. So let's see, Biffy Clyro. I'm not sure what this is. Interesting. Okay, a little risque, but it's a comic book artist. Beck, ooh, the information. Wow, graph paper. It seems like technical illustrations are the jam. Ah, okay, so this is interesting. This is London Calling by The Clash, right? If you know The Clash, another punk rock band. But this is actually a spoof of an Elvis record. Yes, this what used to say Elvis Presley, and it just was the same exact look. And Elvis was obviously making a different face. I wonder if we'll see it. Lost Horizons, I love this one. Just like a sort of minimalized field and then coastline. I think that's really beautiful. This Ogden's Nut Gone Flake, the small faces. I'm not totally familiar, but I know this this approach. But like this came out in the, I believe it was the 70s, late 60s, 70s, but it was a part of the sort of eclectic movement that like went back to old style stuff. Very much like there was this mini steampunk and mini Victorian retro movement in the 60s and 70s that, yeah, this took advantage of. Oh, cool. Here's New Order, Power, Corruption, Lies, right, with the beautiful images of the flowers, the carnations, and then this little sort of like color scheme at the top. I'm not sure what's going on with these sort of the technical approach. There's Justice with their album Cross, which was great, the sort of 3D cross. Yeah, if you know Justice, do the D-A-N-C-E. Yep. Ramones, right? We got their self-titled album. Real simple, but what's very interesting about it is that the type has been erased. Like there's been masking going on, where Joey, the lead singer, it seems to be appearing, or most of the band here seems to be appearing in front of the type. So it embeds the type further back into the space. Houses of the Holy, right? Controversial album covers and naked kids on it and all that stuff, right? Doesn't even need to have Led Zeppelin in it, right? Pet Shop Boys, introspective, really funky color scheme, right? Grace Jones, oh yeah, way to go, Grace. Yep, Grace Jones here. So we're seeing that that idea again, where you have the slash separating the song from the artist, or in this case, the album name. All right, that's pretty cool. This sort of plays on the Happy Mondays. It takes a play on those old postcard designs, which became popular again. Pills and Thrills and Belly Aches, right? This is the Happy Mondays associated with Joy Division and New Order. They're from that same scene in Manchester, United Kingdom. Famous Rage Against the Machine. They used that that photograph by Malcolm Brown that he shot during the Vietnam War. Right, definitely making a political statement. It's Blitz by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Love this action shot of the egg. It's perfect. Right, it's just sort of an exciting thing. Nirvana's Nevermind, right, which another very controversial cover. The baby swimming. Frank Zappa, which is sort of very minimal. This is a very unique album cover for him. He doesn't usually do this. He's got more of a over-the-top approach. Yep, here it is. Here's that Elvis Presley example I was telling you about before that The Clash made a spoof of, I suppose. Right, obviously Elvis came out way before. Bob Dylan, right, the freewheeling, right, super cold day, walking down the street in New York City. Yikes, Prodigy. Prodigy has had better ones than this. That one with the crab, the fat of the earth or the fat of the land, I forget what it is. That one is, in my mind, a rad one. Fugees, The Score, right, sort of playing a little bit off the style of Queen with the sort of dark faces. Andy Warhol, right, did the Velvet Underground and Nico's album cover. There's a whole story behind that, but that's his famous Silkscreen Banana. The Stone Roses, right, their self-titled album, pretty cool. Introducing this DJ Shadow. It's funny, showing a record store on a record, right? How ironic, sort of the death of it. Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk, The Man Machine. This is like a real play on German expression, or I shouldn't say expressionism, but more, yeah, a bit of expressionism and Bauhaus style, the sort of, the early 20th century German style, which is a little bit sort of gothic and weird. And then last year, Spiritualized. Ladies and gentlemen, we are floating in space, right? Which kind of looks like an old book cover from like the 60s. from Penguin Press, which did all these weird minimal things. So anyway, guys, these were sort of 50 album covers, which I thought were pretty cool. So what I want you guys to do is start to look around for album covers for inspiration. You know, start to capture your ideas in a space, and let's make this happen. So, guys, last thing I want to say is August 9th, Sunday, I will be an artist. I have my own table down at the Charlotte Comic-Con in the Crown Plaza Executive Park Hotel. That's here in Charlotte. So if you want to come down, give me a high five. I think it's $5 to get in to the whole event, and yeah, it's a good time. So if you guys want to come down, check me out. I'd appreciate that. I'm doing drawings, and I'll be making some paintings and those sorts of things. I've been doing a lot of comic book work. You can get me on Instagram and Facebook and all those things. But you can see I've got a lot of work going on right here. Little Captain America I did, little Shazam that's in progress, Wonder Woman that I did, Shazam again, the original ink, right? Cap close up, Penguin. Yeah, I've just been Cesar Romero from little Green Lantern, right from the series. So I've just got a lot of stuff going on. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, that is going down, and it's going to be a good old time. But my friends, this has been another episode, right, of our class, and we learned some great things. We made some new friends, right, in the world of album covers, and we started to build our vocabulary a little bit more. We got Photoshop sort of in the mix now, more so than before. We worked on layers. We really got like a lot of stuff going on when we took 3 or 4 photographs and just experimented, reorganized those layers, play with the layer masks, right? Start to sort of take away parts of the images so you can get single objects. You don't have hard edges, those kinds of things, right? That's sort of the basic work in Photoshop. That's going to lead us to generating images that then we're going to bring type into. So if you're sort of like seeing a little bit of the path in front of us, that's going to be some upcoming steps. So we do have a project going on, and the details of that are listed in my courses that you can check out. You've got the homework assignment that you want to take care of. Make sure that you get me the band and the song that you want to do. If you want to change too as time goes on, that's fine, but try to really be thoughtful about what that is. And then also, I want you guys to give me 3 compositions with at least 4 photographs, right? 4 layered photographs in that Photoshop file, right? Save as a JPEG, and then please post your 3 800 by 600 images to my courses. So guys, hope you guys have a great week, and good luck. Hit me up on email. Let me know what's going on if stuff is happening. But yeah, I hope to see you guys next week. All right, take care.